Hey, how's it going, everyone? So I'm doing another recording in my car while driving because don't got the time or atmosphere, environment to do it any other way, any other timely matter. So doing it now. Anyways, in this video I want to talk about what NRS has coming up next, what their next project is that they're working on, what's their next game going to be now that Mortal Kombat 1 is done. And let's just start off right off the bat here, talking about it possibly being Injustice 3. I think that if the next game is indeed just Injustice 3, I think that could possibly be a big mistake on WB's part. It's just the track record is there where Injustice just does not sell anywhere close to as well as Mortal Kombat. And why would we expect Injustice 3 to really do any better than what 1 or 2 did? So I doubt that Injustice 3 would even hit 3 million in sales, or maybe it would hit 3 million at most, but never get to like 4. But I don't even think that would even get that high. But the thing is, from what I can tell, at least, a credible leaker is saying that the next game is going to be Injustice 3. Now, the other possibilities could be, then just sticking with going with another Mortal Kombat, where we get Mortal Kombat 13, whatever they call it, MK2, MK13, whatever they're going to call it. Maybe just drop the number all together. I don't know. But it'll be the 13th main installment of the series, either way. That's what I want them to do. That's what I hope they are actually doing. But it's not going to surprise me if the leak is true and it's indeed going to be Injustice 3 that we get next. But pretty much, it's the only reason it would be a mistake is just because of financial reasons for WB. But, there's also the possibility that we could be getting Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe 2, have that again, which the first one of that was considered the 8th in, main entry of Mortal Kombat. So, Mortal Kombat versus DC is technically Mortal Kombat 8. So I don't know if they did do hypothetically did do a Mortal Kombat versus DCU again, if that would be considered Mortal Kombat 13, or how they would, what that would be considered as technically. This day and age, it's kind of hard to say exactly. But, I'd be okay. I don't really want Mortal Kombat versus DCU again, but I'd rather have that than just the full-on Injustice 3. So, why would they even be doing Injustice 3, though, if very most likely it's not going to sell all that well? Well, there's 2 possible logical reasons that I can come up with that makes sense of why Injustice 3 being the next game would make sense. First off, something a theory I haven't heard anyone talk about or discuss, is that we could potentially actually be getting Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe 2 except it could be called Injustice 3. So we could get, quote-unquote, Injustice 3, but it literally being half DC, half Mortal Kombat. And, it could be called Injustice 3 versus Mortal Kombat, or something. I don't know what they would call it, but they could have some secondary title there. Injustice 3 DCU versus MK or something, I think that is a very possible thing that could be happening, where it's just being called Injustice 3. It's Injustice 3, but it's actually DC versus MK. That's a possibility, and I think that makes some sense there, because we'd be taking a break from just Mortal Kombat and see what the crossover game of MK and DC, how well that could potentially do. If that could do, help Injustice 3 do a lot better than 1 and 2, perhaps. Now, the second possibility of why they're doing Injustice 3 next, and why that makes sense financially for WB in the long run, is that they could look at the history of the NRS games, and you see Mortal Kombat 9 sells hella good. Mortal Kombat, or Injustice 1, only like a couple million, right? Somewhere around there. Then Mortal Kombat 10, 10 mil. Injustice 2, again, only a couple million. Mortal Kombat 11, 15 mil. And then we went from Mortal Kombat 11 to Mortal Kombat 1, that only is at 5 mil. So, Mortal Kombat, even on a low-selling Mortal Kombat game, still greatly outperforms Injustice in sales. But why did, from their perspective, from the Suits and WB's perspective, potentially they're seeing it like trying to figure out, why is Mortal Kombat 1 selling so much less than 9, 10, and 11? And the one thing that's kind of glaring there is that there was an Injustice game in between 9, 10, and 11. So potentially they're seeing it as, well, let's do Injustice 3. It might only sell up to 2 to 3 million, but then we do another Mortal Kombat game after that, have Injustice 3 and have people people crave Mortal Kombat to return even more, that when Mortal Kombat 13 does come around, it can get to 10 plus million without, so much struggles. Now, I think there's a lot more to it, involving why MK1 has only sold 5 mil and hasn't done as good as the 9, 10, and 11. I think there's a lot more to it than just, Injustice was in between them and it wasn't this time. But I can see the Suits and WB coming to that conclusion, seeing the pattern there, and go ahead and greenlighting to give it a shot to do a Injustice 3, and then get the real money, the real payoff with the next Mortal Kombat. And honestly, we don't know if that's what would happen. They don't know for sure if that's how things would work out. But I feel like if they really are going to go with Injustice 3 right now, and it's not a full-on crossover between DC and MK, then I really do think that that's how they're seeing it, that they're betting on putting out the DC game to make a to create more of an urge for Mortal Kombat to come back, to then have that translate into twice as many sales than MK1 has done, to get back up to the level of MK9, 10, and 11 as far as sales go. We'll just have to wait and see of how that plays out, and if that indeed does work for them, and it potentially could. But that's the only other reason I can, logical reason that makes sense to me why they would go ahead and do a full-on Injustice 3 DC game. Personally, I think if they just stuck with Mortal Kombat and actually buckled down, listened to the fan base and the critics, and just gave us a Mortal Kombat game that we actually want, that it would sell 10 plus million. I think the real issue is that there was bad will created with MK11. Despite it being the best-selling Mortal Kombat game of all time, there's definitely a lot of bad will with that game that was created with millions of fans. And then you come out with MK1 that not only rubbed a bunch of people the wrong way to begin with, but just made a lot of those MK11, a lot of those fans that were turned off with MK11, just not even give MK1 a try. So we'll have to wait and see what actually is in the works once we get an official announcement. Hopefully later this year, people are guessing basically that we'll get an official announced trailer or something for what they are working on at Final Combat. I believe that's in September, if I remember correctly. But we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully we get, an announced trailer or something sometime this year would be nice. And that wouldn't surprise me if we do, because if they really are doing Injustice 3 and they're going with the strategy of let's just get an Injustice game out there, get whatever sales we can, and then really get, bet on Mortal Kombat getting 10 plus mil after that, if that's the real strategy they're going with, then I really hope that they take their time with the next Mortal Kombat game and listen to the fans, because I think this Injustice 3, if that indeed is what we're getting, and it's not, a full-on crossover game, then I think they're just going to rush it out the door, to be honest. I think a lot of people felt like MK1 was rushed out the door, and it was, even if they spent more time on it than any other game, which seems kind of crazy. Injustice 3 is going to be hella rushed, even more rushed out the door, because they're not going to expect a huge profit from it, really, not compared to what they would expect from a Mortal Kombat. But yeah, I really think it would be a mistake, though. I think it's going to be a mistake if they just did a full-on Injustice 3, because I don't see it doing any better than the previous Injustice games, and it could even potentially even do worse, like the worst of the three. What if it didn't even hit 1 million, or only gets 1 mil and doesn't get to 2 million even? How would WB react to that is what I'd be worried about. What would be the repercussions for the NRS team? So we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I don't think Injustice 3, I don't want it. I don't like the idea of that's what it's going to be, but at the moment, it seems like it's most likely indeed going to be Injustice 3 that we're getting next. So at this point, I'm mainly, I'd hope that we actually do get another Mortal Kombat instead, but I at least hope that it's DC versus MK2 disguised as Injustice 3. That's what I hope it is. Let me know what you guys think. I'll have another video coming up here sometime soon talking about some other things. So subscribe, like, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you later.